are Group 1 from STA 404 Statistics for Business and Social Science. We will be presenting our study titled Food Delivery App Usage and Spending Behavior among UiTM Students. My name is Nalda Danil Fram, and I will be presenting together with my group mates Andreanna Anthony and Hendrew. Over the past few years, food delivery apps such as GrabFood, Foodpanda, and Shopee Food have become part of daily life in Malaysia. In fact, the online food delivery market generated 2.7 billion US dollar in 2023 and is projected to keep growing by more than 9.5% annually. Among university students, this trend is even more common because of busy class schedules and limited access to cooking facilities. However, since most students rely on a fixed monthly allowance, frequent use of these apps raises concerns about their financial management. This is why our group chose to study the food delivery app usage and spending behavior of students here at UiTM Sabah branch, Kota Kinabalu campus. Our study has three main objectives. First, to describe the demographic profile of UiTM students who use food delivery applications. Second, to determine whether there are differences in the influence of promotions on ordering between genders. And third, to examine the association between monthly allowance and average spending on food delivery among UiTM students. For our methodology, our population is students of UiTM Sabah branch Kota Kinabalu campus. We collected data from 30 respondents using convenience sampling, where the survey link was shared among students who were easily accessible to us. This is primary data collected through a self-administered online questionnaire distributed via Google Form covering demographic information, app usage patterns, and spending behavior. Both descriptive and inferential statistics were used to analyze the data. Our questionnaire collected 14 variables in total. As summarized in Table 1, all of these variables are qualitative in nature, measured on either a nominal or ordinal scale. Each variable was analyzed using an appropriate method, such as pie charts and bar charts for descriptive purposes, and an independent sample t-test and chi-square test for our inferential objective. I will now pass it over to Rachel, who will walk us through our descriptive statistic.
Thank you, Eva. Hi everyone, I'm Rachel, and I'll be presenting our descriptive statistics. Due to page limitations, some variables that are not directly tied to our study's objective, such as current level of education, faculty, current residence, and food delivery app most used, have been placed in the appendix. In this section, I'll focus on the variable most relevant to our objective. Starting with age, the majority of our respondents, 18%, are aged between 18 and 22 years old, showing that our sample is predominantly young undergraduate student. For gender, our sample skews lightly female, with 56.7% female respondents compared to 43.3% male. Looking at semester, most of our respondents, 40%, are in semester 3, followed by semester 2 at 26.7%. This suggests our respondents are already familiar with food delivery apps as part of their daily routine. For monthly allowance, the distribution is fairly even, with 33.3% receiving 500 ringgit and below, and another 33.3% receiving 501 ringgit to 1000 ringgit. This means 2/3 of our respondents live on 1000 ringgit or less a month, indicating a fairly limited budget. When it comes to frequency of ordering, 36.7% of respondents order food delivery 2 to 3 times a week, showing that this is a fairly regular habit, although daily use is rare. As for the preferred time of day to order, Evening is the most popular choice at 50%, followed by night at 40%. This tells us that ordering behavior is concentrated around dinner hours. For the main reason respondents use food delivery apps, promotion and discount came out on top at 36.7%, ahead of convenience and variety of choices, which were tied at 23.3% each. This suggests that price-related incentives are actually a stronger driver than convenience itself. Looking at spending per order, spending is concentrated in the mid-range with 40% spending 11 ringgit to 20 ringgit and another 40% spending 21 ringgit to 30 ringgit per order. This shows most respondents order moderately priced meal. For spending per month, half of our respondents spend 15 ringgit or below, which tells us, despite ordering frequently, overall monthly spending remains relatively low and consistent with their limited allowance. Finally, on the influence of promotion and discounts, an overwhelming 73.3% of respondents strongly agreed that promotion influenced their decision to order, confirming just how powerful promotional incentives are in driving this behavior. To summarize all of this, since our variables are qualitative, we use mode and median as our measures of central tendency instead of mean. Table 12 shows that the most typical respondent profile is a young female student in semester 3 with a monthly allowance of 501 ringgit to 1000 ringgit, who orders food delivery 2 to 3 times a week, mostly in the evening, spending 11 ringgit to 20 ringgit per order and 50 ringgit or below per month, and who is strongly influenced by promotions and discounts. And now, I hand it over to Andreanna, who will present our inferential statistics.
Thank you, Rachel. Hello everyone, I'm Andreanna and I will be presenting our inferential statistics and conclusion. So our second objective was to determine whether there are differences in the influence of promotions on ordering between genders. Since our data involves comparing two groups, we use an independent samples t-test. Before running this test, we first conducted Levin's test to check whether equal variances could be assumed. The result gave a p-value of 0.676, which is greater than 0.05, which is the alpha, so we assume equal variances. Moving to the main hypothesis test, our null hypothesis states that there is no difference in the influence of promotions between male and female students, while our alternative hypothesis states that there is a difference. At the 5% significance level, our test gave a p-value of 0.547, which is greater than 0.05. This means that we failed to reject the null hypothesis. In other words, there is insufficient evidence to say that promotions and discounts influence ordering differently between male and female UiTM students, and promotional incentives appear to affect both genders equally. Our third objective was to examine the association between monthly allowance and average spending on food delivery. For this, we used the chi-square test. But we would like to note that before interpreting the results, we recorded monthly allowance and average spending from 4 categories into 2 border groups, which is low and moderate and also high, to better meet the expected sale frequency assumption. And that even after recording one cell or 25% of cells still had an expected count below 5 with a minimum expected count on 4.67. Since this violates the assumption of Pearson chi-square, we use the Fisher's exact test instead, which is more appropriate for small sample sizes. Our null hypothesis states that average spending is not associated with monthly allowance, while our alternative hypothesis states that it is associated. At a 5% significance level, Fisher's exact test gave a p-value of 0.013, which is less than 0.05, so we have to reject the null hypothesis. This means that there is sufficient evidence to conclude that there is a significant association between monthly allowance and average spending on food delivery, suggesting that students with higher monthly allowance tend to spend more on food delivery apps. To conclude, our study examined food delivery app usage and spending behavior among 30 UiTM Sabah branch students. Most respondents were female, aged 18 to 22, and living on a monthly allowance of 1,000 ringgit and below. Foodpanda was the most widely used app, and promotions and discounts were the strongest driver of app usage. Our independent t-test found that there are no significant difference between genders in how promotions influence ordering, while our chi-square analysis, using the feature's exact test, confirmed a significant association between monthly allowance and spending. Together, these findings suggest that spending behavior is tied more closely to financial capacity than to gender. Based on these findings, we recommend that food delivery companies continue offering students targeted promotions, especially during peak evening and night hours. We also recommend that UiTM introduce financial literacy workshops to help students budget their food expenses more responsibly. Students themselves are also encouraged to set a monthly spending limit and use promotions strategically rather than ordering impulsively. Finally, future research should expand the sample size across multiple campuses for a more generalizable results. That concludes our presentation. Thank you very much for watching, and we hope you found our study on food delivery app usage and spending behavior among UiTM students insightful. This has been Group 1. Thank you.